Because when you go to a store, you're looking on a shelf and you see, you've got the Bible as an ingredient list.
Right.
We want to get back to where you can read what it is in your ingredient list in about, it's 6 or 7, 10 different things. The advertising system that we have in this country, like you said, it's telling everyday Americans to go tell their doctors how to be doctors, right?
Yes.
It's not letting your doctor inform you the most. That's why informed consent and right to try are such big things that we need to push on the state level.
I'm so happy to have you. We've been looking forward for a couple of days at AmericaFest now.
Yes.
We're just about the tail end of it. Tomorrow's our last session. But we were looking forward to meeting with you, Garrett. For our audience who doesn't know Garrett Pagel, I'm going to have him tell us a little bit about his story. And his story was meaningful and impactful because it brought you to where you are today and the voice that you have. And give us a little bit of background as to what was going on, what was happening, what brought you here today to this chair with the passion that you have. So, Garrett, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Garrett Pagel. I started a nonprofit called the Vital Choice Project, and I'm also the strategy director at Maha Action. Formerly worked at Turning Point. Without Charlie and his team, I would not be doing anything that I'm doing. I was simply a volunteer for Turning Point Action, and then ended up getting offered a position on there as an intern. Worked up there to the field team, and then got an offer at Maha, and was able to kind of, take what I learned at Turning Point, bring it to Maha Action. Now I'm doing political strategy and things like that. So basically, when I was 6 years old, I was involved in a dog attack that left a majority of my face lacerated.
Wow.
So, and by laceration, I mean it was more so it grabbed my face and pulled. So there's not a lot of external scarring, but it's a lot of my sinuses are kind of messed up. I've got some scar tissue areas like inside my mouth, in my nose, things like that. So the American medical system, when you get attacked by an animal, the hospitals and system put you on antibiotics. And when it was as severe as what I had and I needed follow-up surgeries, I kept being put on antibiotics. And for those of you that don't know, antibiotics destroy the gut microbiome, which is like the most important part of your immune system and overall protecting you from chronic illness, honestly.
It's called the second brain.
Yes, exactly. And so when I was 20, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and I didn't really have much of a gut microbiome at all, which is what I believe the antibiotics had a huge play on. So I ended up getting myself, though, into clinical remission through natural medicine because the pharmaceutical route and the allopathic system was not working for me. And I refused to live that lifestyle of a constant chronically sick lifestyle, and I wanted to go back to being normal. So one of my best friends, Ashton, his dad's a chiropractor, and helped me get into what we call the gut microbiome reset and detox. And here I am now, a year and a half almost after my diagnosis, in clinical remission. So we know natural medicine works. We just have to be able to platform it, bring it to the masses, and keep people healthy.
So Garrett, you're a young guy. You went through your journey, and it certainly was challenging, and it started at 6 years old. And at 20 or so, right? Is that what you said? At 20,
yeah, when I was diagnosed.
Diagnosed. Yeah. And you sought to take ownership of your own health because you saw other things. So from there, why didn't you just stop and go about your merry way? What caused you to take a stand? And by the way, tell our audience, those that may not know, what Maha is.
Yeah.
And why is it that you took your experience and had passion behind it what do you want to say to people? What's your voice? So Maha is Make America Healthy Again. It was launched in August of last year when Bobby Kennedy came out and endorsed Donald Trump for president. The biggest political alignment, coalition meld maybe ever. It ended up, winning Donald Trump the presidency. And what it is it's this ideology to bring health back into our own personal ability to control it. It's the idea of we're going to throw away the large pharmaceutical bureaucracy and take health back into our own hands of the system that God created for it. Whole foods, natural medicine, sunlight, and the ability to just use our environment to optimize our health to be the best and healthiest people we can be.
So Garrett, let me ask you this because you're on the inside, and I'm so glad that you have a personal experience. It's not just a bureaucratic position with Maha. You have a personal vested interest in your journey, right? And you would want no one to go through what you went through. Let's talk a little bit about the pharmaceutical industry. You have an inside view as to the work that they have. Ultimately, isn't it just about a business, or is it really about saving lives?
My honest opinion is I think it's about business. When you think back to when this all kind of started with the adoption of the Flexner Report, which for those of you that don't know, the Flexner Report was what took our used to be a very holistic natural medical system and turned it into the pharmaceutical sellout system that we have today. And when you go and look back at really how it started, we saw that if people are constantly sick and need a pharmaceutical prescription, you can constantly make money off of them. And when you look at it through the lens of that, you understand that health no longer becomes a human right or a responsibility of our government, but instead it becomes a monetary system that puts a price on people.
And it's like a tank of gas. You got to go back to get more,
Exactly.
get more. And if you're well, or if a medicine heals you, then you're done.
Exactly.
I've heard Bobby say he wants to address, and this was so poignant, and perhaps you haven't. I know you'd have an opinion on this. He said, "What we have is not health care. It's not a health care. It's a sick care
Yes.
program." Define the difference between a sick care as we have traditionally, and he's bringing putting a lens, a spotlight on the sick care versus health care. How does he define that?
Yeah, so I'll use my own personal story to kind of define it, where once I was sick, the hospitals and doctors wanted to care for me. As soon as I ended up getting a diagnosis, the first thing they did was prescribe me medicine. It was a drug called prednisone, which is a steroid that I later learned has some very dangerous side effects, especially when the system misdiagnoses you, which was what happened in my case.
Right. Well,
And the difference between a healthcare system and a sick care system is where a healthcare system would look at you as a person, as an individual. They would understand what it is that makes you tick from your biological stance and the science happening inside your body. And they would then take that and develop an independent model to treat you proactively. How do we keep you healthy long term instead of, you're fine now, come back to me if something hurts, you know?
so the palliative versus getting ahead of it, right?
Yes.
The sick care is taking care of the symptoms. You're with MAHA, so you have inside information. I love being able to, and so honored that you're here with the wealth of information and what's at your fingertips. As a matter of fact, just before coming here, you had connected with Bobby over having shared with him something that you were representing here, where you had a full packed house. You had a couple hundred people waiting in the door, couldn't get in.
Yes.
It's amazing how people are interested in this. But let me ask you this. Is it true that like pharmaceutical companies have an agenda in business? Let's just say it's your opinion, my opinion as well, but everyone can find out for themselves. But what about the food industries, those that create most of the stuff that are in the shelves of our stores? Because none of us grow our stuff or raise our chickens. How is that coming into play with the MAHA movement as far as the food industry is concerned?
Yeah, so kind of similar to the pharmaceutical industry, it thrives off of this partnership with sick people. The big food lobby is all about creating hyper-processed foods. I'm sure that term has become extremely saturated over the last year where you hear it everywhere, but what it means is it's no longer a whole food, meaning it's in its natural form. Instead, it is hyper-processed. Additives are added to it. The preservatives, yes, thank you. Preservatives are added to it, allowing it to stay on our shelves longer. And That's what we're trying to break free from. Because when you go to a store, you're looking on a shelf and you see, you've got the Bible as an ingredient list.
Right.
We want to get back to where you can read what it is in your ingredient list and about, it's 6 or 7, 10 different things.
Yep.
And you're understanding that it's real whole food ingredients. It's not been processed for weeks at a time and turned into a powder that's later shaped into a granola bar or something like that. So the idea that as from Maha's position is we want to get back to getting our population fed through whole, real foods, farm-to-table programs, regenerative soil programs, things like that are going to prioritize true health optimization on a population scale. In order to make America great again and put America first, you have to put the population first, which means creating a super healthy, powerful population that is stronger than any other nation in the world because we've dealt with sickness by preventing it completely.
I love that path, and it's due time that someone represents the people. That's why the Maha movement is about the people.
Yeah.
It's what we've entrusted government and leaders to do is look out for our best interests. How do we lose that path?
I think it was a factor of a lot of things. I think that in this hyper-polarized world that we live in, it's a 50-50 country basically. And the idea that we need to optimize our population stems really heavily into what's happening is both parties, both parties frankly had this issue. On the left, they've taken the healthcare talking point and ran for it for years. On the right, we've been on the pesticide, we want pesticide liability shields and all those types of things. And we finally have this group that Bobby represents of people that are like-minded from all walks of life that truly just want to live a healthy life without interference from a bigger agenda. And Maha has this ability right now to kind of halt the brakes on the big pharmaceutical and big food agenda, return of the power back to the people, whether it's by lobbying things through at the state level, working on new regulations from the federal level, overall educating our population to understand it differently. It really is just returning the information that we're getting, going back to, we hear Bobby say all the time, gold standard science. Once we get back to just the truth of science, ask questions and provide our population with the truth and what's best for us, that's when we're going to be able to break away from this system and go into something that's hopefully a lot better for all of us.
And I believe we're well on that path.
Yes.
And I love that the MAHA is a thing now and bringing awareness, because the more people know, the more they're communicated. As you know, Q stands for Communication Unites Everyone. And Charlie would say, we need to have conversations. Information not only humanizes people, but think about the other side. Charlie would say, lack of communication often is setting up for violence around the corner, right? So I love that the communication, the MAHA movement, and what you're doing in your department is informing us so that we can make decisions.
Yes.
Just on the last note here as we're closing, because I got you here for a moment. We're only one of 2 countries that allows pharmaceuticals to advertise on television to people who can't prescribe to themselves. They can't go get it because they're selling to people who, it's almost like I'm promoting cigarettes to minors where they don't have the license to be able to purchase that.
Correct.
How is it that that is being addressed? Because I remember during the campaign, and something that Bobby would say was that was one thing that he talked about. Is that on the table? Is that being looked at and worked at in terms of advertising? The second part of that is, will pharmaceutical companies finally be held accountable and liable for the products that they produce and be responsible?
Yeah, so I think everything is on the table still. I mean, we've seen so much progress in the last 3 weeks alone. We had the Hep B being pulled, then we had the president order Bobby and his departments to look into the entire vaccine schedule.
Yes.
I think that it's a stepping stone process.
Got it.
And I think that the advertising system that we have in this country, like you said, it's telling everyday Americans to go tell their doctors how to be doctors, right?
Yes.
It's not letting your doctor inform you the most. That's why informed consent and right to try are such big things that we need to push on the state level.
Yes.
And I think that as this as this road and path continues to lay out before us, as we continue with these small wins, I think they'll build up to big things like this, where eventually New Zealand will be the only country with advertising pharmaceuticals on TV.
Right.
Because I do agree. I think that if I had the ability to, I would stop that in some way, shape, or form. Because while it is important to make sure that our population is informed on what options are out there, it should be the doctor's ability to do it, not the pharmaceutical's ability to do it.
I love that position. It's so common sense. My brother's a physician. He's a gastroenterologist. And
Oh, wow.
it's
Yep.
a practice you're familiar with.
Yes.
My son's in medical school his second year. We come from a family of physicians, so we understand that doctors really genuinely want to help people. But they've been confined to helping them in a certain methodology. But one thing that brought this pharmaceutical question up was a conversation with my brother, where he said some of his patients would come in not even having certain things, and in their heads it was planted that, hey, I think I might have irritable bowel syndrome, or self-diagnosing and asking for medication for that, versus if they didn't have that advertised, they wouldn't be neurotic and think, hey, maybe I have that.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need that pill. So that's a real thing, right? Self-medicating is thing. So I'd love it to put it back in the hands of the practitioners, to give them the latitude to do the art of healing,
Yes.
not the science of prescribing pills,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Wow.
And that's why I started. That's my C3 that I started. That is why Ashton and I started the Vital Choice Project. Its sole purpose is to go into colleges and universities,
Yeah.
hit these students that are going into pre-med and healthcare-oriented degree fields
Yeah.
as undergraduate students, and teach them and give them the resources, whether financial or connections, networks, to break away from the pharmaceutical structure. Because at the end of the day, our med schools are corporately captured by Big Pharma. They mandatorily teach you how to prescribe medicine without ever mandating you to learn nutrition or dietetics or naturopathic medicine of any sort.
That's
So
a
the goal of
fact.
the Vital Choice Project is to bring students into our tent, teach them these other preventative models, this new mindset, so that when they become doctors, they aren't dealers of drugs for the pharmaceutical companies, and instead are healers for the population.
I love that. What a great task you have. What a great team you've joined with a great mission.
Thank you.
And it's going to make a difference in people's lives, their loved ones, and for generations. How can someone find out more information about what you have?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram. It's Garrett Pagel with a Z. Otherwise, my organization is the Vital Choice Project. You can find us on Instagram or visit us at our website, which is thevcp.org. Be happy to reach out, and I'd be happy to connect with all of you.
Garrett, such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And really motivating us and giving us a sense of like, you've got our backs.
Yes.
Garrett, thank you.
Thank you so much.